have read news that in the United Kingdom, they found out that the Chinese are indeed spying using SIM cards, which can essentially transmit data back to China. Well, this is not new. If you have read my book, Who Painted My State Purple, I talked about various instances where it was found that the Chinese had put Wi-Fi chips that would essentially be installed on server boards. These server boards form parts of websites that Amazon and many other companies host, and on these server boards they had this chip that would go and look at what was running on that particular blade and then would send data back. So essentially everybody's websites, their content was essentially being transmitted until Apple and Amazon caught on. Now, of course, they are not going to admit that all this happened, but there is a Bloomberg story that talks about it in great detail. This espionage, spying, trying to steal what the other person is doing, trying to find out what the other person is doing, nothing new. It has been happening since a time of Cold War. You've had devices that try and snoop in on what the other person was up to. The bigger question that one needs to answer is, so once you know that you are being snooped upon, what do you do with that information? Well, you can always spread disinformation when you know fully well that the other side is listening. Why don't you just go and feed them with lies? Get them in the wrong direction. That's also a possibility. So this espionage, spy, skullduggery, snooping, all these things work both ways. If the other person doesn't know that you are being snooped upon, then the possibilities are endless. However, there was a product that I had been part of called 𝙤𝙂, which is a storage product. This thing came about 20 years ago because of something like this. What had happened was, in the streets of Kabul, they were selling pen drives in 2001, 2002. What had happened was, remember when after 9/11 US forces landed in Afghanistan and they were trying to mop up Osama bin Laden, only to let him go at the very end when they had him within their clutches. That's a story for a different day, how the US royally managed to screw it up in 2001 when he was stuck in the caves in Tora Bora. But what had happened was, on one fine day, there was a flea market, a bazaar kind of thing in Kabul, and suddenly you could find these thumb drives. All these thumb drives had detailed flight plans, attack plans, where were they going to do, what were they going to bring in, essentially the blueprint of how the invasion was going to take place amongst, when they were trying to go after all these Taliban people, essentially attack plans of how they were going to round up the Taliban. Now, once that happened, the newly formed Department of Homeland Security realized that whatever data that they give to their troops on the ground, that needed to have a much higher level of security, a security level that can withstand several attacks of intrusion and so on and so forth. What happened was that Department of Homeland Security gave a contract to a startup company called 𝙤𝙂, which was based in the Bay Area. And these people came looking to us. We were, making thumb drives at that point of time, asking if there was any way we can have encryption on the storage in real time, and something that would be so good that it will not be, nobody will be able to break it. Essentially, the idea was to make a thumb drive or a pen drive such that it would be so secure that even if it were to be lost, nobody would be able to recover the contents. So for this, a lot of layers of security was put in. At the same time, we had to manage the speed, performance, and so on and so forth. All that was done, and this product was launched. Well, the only problem was, by the time the product launched, the 4 GB drive was costing about $100. Now, if you look at it, 1 terabyte costs like $100. So you can see 250 times the capacity, but it's not a viable thing. 𝙤𝙂 slowly withered away, and then finally they got bought by this Chinese American company called Kingston memory, and I don't even know what is happening to the product now, if it's still being sold or not. Anyway, if somebody knows about it, let me know, because I got a couple of patents out of this, because we, in that storage solution, the encrypted storage solution, we actually used blockchain concept. So I have a patent wherein I've used blockchain to essentially manage the encryption key, which we were changing at a very, very fast rate, much faster than what somebody who's trying to break it could accomplish. It was mind-blowing, the kind of technology that we had developed in 2007, which ended up shipping in 2008, 9, 10, 11, and so on and so forth. It was just mind-blowing, way ahead of its time. But the problem always was, how do you manage the ever-moving flash technology? How do you keep up with that, and how do you make sure that your product stays competitive price-wise? Anyway, that was a problem. The reason for saying all this is, yes, you can have storage, have technology that is so good that the other side will not be able to get hold of it, even if you end up losing it. So what does one do now? You know that things are being compromised, that you have some secrets to keep, then those things, people are going to snoop on you and figure out a way to get something out of you, to know what you are up to. A country like China can throw enough resources to ferret out whatever it is that you're doing. The best way to do this thing is to have groups that are doing high-tech work to be completely isolated from the world in terms of networking and so on. Don't let these people use the same computers to go and browse the web, for example, because that is how you can feed in spam code, phishing code, whatever it is, to understand. And then once it gets into your computer, then it can basically go and walk through your complete hard drive to find out what it is that you are doing. This is one way. The other way, and I don't know how much people have done research on this, is that you can software encrypt your storage. Let's say you have a laptop. There is something called as BitLocker technology that Microsoft provides free. And you can use that to soft encrypt your drive. And this does give you a layer of protection. I don't know how many people do it in the spy agency areas, but it's actually a good idea for even normal people who have some company secrets to start using BitLocker enabled hard drives. But it doesn't cost you more. It may have a bit of an encryption performance on your read writes, but I think for most of us who are using Word, Excel, Google Docs, Google Sheets, simple editing tools and maybe presentation, that may take a little bit more CPU bandwidth. Other than that, you can use it. So you should try that out. Microsoft does provide it. I have not tried it myself, but somebody suggested that this is an effective way to try and insulate yourself from the outside world, because there are situations where you have to use the same laptop for both doing the keeping your secret stuff as well as navigating the internet. Imagine if you are traveling for a important meeting where you're carrying your presentation with you. So in such situations, you do want both safety as well as being able to access the internet. So BitLocker gives a good starting point, at least, to save some of your stuff. Try it out, and if you guys find it useful, do let me know, because I'm going to try it out on it myself to see if this makes a big difference. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.